Hey everybody, this is Rykard here again, and welcome to my first Pokemon X and Y analysis video. Today's video is going to be Chestnaught, since we're going to be going in order, so let's kick things off by taking a look at this Pokemon's typing, abilities, and stats. So to start things off, Chesnaught is a grass-fighting type Pokemon introduced into Pokemon X and Y. And even though it is the third Pokemon to get this typing, along with Breloom and Virizion, this Pokemon gives this typing a whole new spin, which is why I think Chestnaught is so interesting. But as for its abilities, the first one that it gets is Overgrow, which is the typical grass starter ability, which increases the power of your grass type moves when you are at 33% of your health or less. And then its second ability, which is its hidden ability, which is what the HA stands for, is a very, very cool and unique ability known as Bulletproof. Chestnaught is the only Pokemon that gets this ability, and what Bulletproof does is it gives you immunity to specific moves that are either ball or bomb moves. So the full list of moves that the Bulletproof ability gives you an immunity to are Acid Spray, Aura Sphere, Barrage, Bullet Seed, Egg Bomb, Electro Ball, Energy Ball, Focus Blast, Gyro Ball, Ice Ball, Magnet Bomb, Mud Bomb, Octazooka, Seed Bomb, Shadow Ball, Sludge Bomb, and Weather Ball. So this is a huge list of things that this Pokemon is immune to with this ability, which is why it's so cool and could definitely make defensive sets on Chestnaught very effective because of the weird immunities you get to certain moves with this ability. But as far as the stats are concerned, Chestnaught has some pretty great defenses with its base 88 HP, base 122 physical defense, and base 75 special defense. Specifically that defensive stat, which is absolutely ridiculous. This Pokemon will be able to take physical hits extremely well, and you could also obviously EV it in HP and special defense to kind of balance it out a bit, making you able to take hits from both sides of the spectrum. As far as its attacking stats are concerned, though, base 107 physical attack is probably what you're going to be going with more often than not, because its special attack is only base 74, so there are, some moves you could possibly go with, maybe on a mix set in the future when we learn more about the metagame, but as far as things are concerned right now, you're probably going to be wanting to go physically offensive with Chestnaught, and its speed, unfortunately, is only base 64, which is slightly slow, but it can effectively run a Scarfed set, because as many of you know, a Scarfed and Boar was one of the most common sets to run on that Pokemon in 5th gen, and that Pokemon had only base 65 speed, so this is only slightly less than that. So you can definitely make use of Chestnaught's speed, just keep in mind that it is on the slower side of the speed tier. But as far as movesets for this Pokemon are concerned, the first one we're going to start off with is a Leech Seeding set for Chestnaught. So we're going to start by giving it a Careful Nature to increase its special defense but lower its special attack, and for the ability we're going to be going with Bulletproof. As for the EVs, we're going to put 200 into our HP and 252 EVs into our special defense to max that out, with the remainder 56 EVs into our speed to give us enough speed to outspeed base 70 speed Pokemon, because it is important on Leech Seeding sets, especially like sub-seeding sets and things like that, to be faster than many opponents so that you can set up a substitute before your opponent is able to attack. But as lastly, for the item, we are going to be going with Leftovers, which is going to be recovering a little bit of HP at the end of every turn. But for the moves, the first one that we're going to go with in the first move slot is either going to be Substitute or Spiky Shield. Substitute, obviously, because of the famous sub-seeding combo that you could run on this set, but Spiky Shield could also work as well because you can also use Protect along with Leech Seed as well. Not as common, but it definitely works, and with the awesome Spiky Shield ability, which functions as Protect, but even better, because every time your opponent goes for a contact move, say for example like Thunder Punch or something like that, Spiky Shield will actually activate, causing your opponent to take damage similar to that of Rough Skin. Now this doesn't stack with the Rocky Helmet ability, by the way, so for somebody who wants to try that, don't do it. It doesn't work because you protect yourself, so the Rocky Helmet doesn't activate, but the Spiky Shield does, so that's always really cool. So you could go with that or a substitute in the first slot. But for the second slot, you are obviously going to be going with Leech Seed to get off the Leech Seed, recover a little bit of HP at the end of every turn by sapping your opponent's health. And then for the main attacking move on the set, we're going to be going with Brick Break to go with your Fighting Stab, since generally it's better to go with your secondary stab on a Leech Seeding set, because obviously Pokemon that are weak to grass are not going to stay in, and Pokemon that resist grass are going to switch in to take whatever grass move, so you want to be going with the other attacking move that you can go for. But as far as the last move slot is concerned, you can either go with, firstly, Poison Jab, which is absolutely excellent on this set. It seems really weird, but it's actually really good for fairy types that might want to come in and take your fighting moves and obviously hit you super effectively. Also, it has a 30% chance to poison, which is always great, to get some more damage on your opponent, more residual damage along with Leech Seed. Also, it is good against the grass types that are immune to Leech Seed, so Poison Jab can hit those super effectively as well. But for the other moves, you could obviously go with Rock Slide to cover some weaknesses, such as your weakness to fire types and flying types and ice types, or you could go with your Dual Stab, going with Seed Bomb. And lastly, if you chose to go with Substitute on your first set, first move slot, you can go with Spiky Shield in the last move slot to get even more recovery in combination with Substitute and Leech Seed, and be very annoying. So there are a lot of options for the last move slot on this set, so pick what you so desire, and hopefully it'll work out for you, but these are all extremely viable options on a Leech Seeding set for Chestnaught. Up next, we have what I think might become a standard defensive type set to use for Chestnaught. So we're going to start by giving it an Impish Nature to increase its physical defense but lower its special attack, and for the ability we're going to be going with Bulletproof. As for the EVs, we're going to put 232 EVs into our HP, 252 EVs into our physical defense, and then the remainder 24 EVs into our speed to allow us to outspeed base 65 Pokemon, which we fall just short of outspeeding because we are base 64 speed. But for the item on the set, again, we're going to be going with Leftovers as a way to recover a little bit of HP at the end of every turn. But for the moves, the first one that we're going to go with on the set is going to be Spikes. Chestnaught is very fortunate to get this move as an egg move, so Spikes is going to be absolutely amazing on this Pokemon, allowing you to set up entry hazards to slowly dwindle your opponent's health away every time they switch in, and it's very nice support for your whole team, and Chestnaught, being the bulky Pokemon that it is, will have many opportunities to set up spikes throughout battle, so he is definitely a Pokemon to use this move with. But for the other moves on the set, we're going to go with our main attacking move again, which is going to be Brick Break, a very strong fighting type move that we could definitely go with. The next move will either be Seed Bomb or Roar. Seed Bomb obviously being your secondary stab option, being your grass type stab, but Roar could also be very useful in the slot as well if you only want to go with a mono attacking set with Brick Break, because you can roar things out, such as, Baton Pass leads and things like that, and also rack up entry hazard damage that you set up yourself with your own spikes by roaring your opponents out. So it's definitely a very good option to go with as well. And for the last move slot, you're going to either want to go with Synthesis or Roar. Synthesis obviously to recover your HP, allowing you to last even longer in battle, which is especially useful for setting up spikes because you'll have many opportunities to do that, and walling physical attackers because that is what the set is meant to do. But if you also want to go with Roar, if you went with Seed Bomb in the previous slot, you can go with Roar here as a way to phase things out similarly to how I mentioned it before. So this is a pretty solid defensive set for Chestnaught, and something that I think will be very popular with this Pokemon because of how bulky on the physical side it can be, and because its access to spikes is absolutely amazing. As far as this next set is concerned, we're going to be giving Chestnaught a more offensive role in battle, so we're going to start by giving him a Jolly Nature to increase its speed but lower its special attack, and for the ability on the set, we could go with either of them. Overgrow is obviously useful for allowing you to do more damage when you're at a lower range of health, but Bulletproof could also be used on Chestnaught to allow it to switch in more often and dish out some damage if you can switch in on a move you predict your opponent to go for that Chestnaught would be immune to with the Bulletproof ability. So it's whichever ability you are more comfortable with, so feel free to choose. But for the EVs, we're going to put 252 into our physical attack, 4 into our special defense, and then 252 EVs into our speed to give us our max attack and max speed possible with the Jolly Nature. And for the item, there are quite a bit of options we can go with on this set. Choice Scarf will obviously lock you into a move and make you faster. Choice Band will lock you into a move and make you stronger. Expert Belt can be used to allow you to do more damage on super effective hits and also bluff the fact that you might have a choice item, since nothing shows when you go with the Expert Belt. Or lastly, you could go with a Life Orb to allow you to just do more damage overall on all of your attacks. All of these are extremely good options, so it's whichever one you want to go with and whichever one fits your team the best. But as far as the moves are concerned, the first one that we're going to be going with is going to be our Grass Stab, which is going to be either Wood Hammer or Seed Bomb. Wood Hammer is obviously the stronger option, but it does have the negative side effect of having recoil. However, if you do go with the Overgrow ability, Wood Hammer can be very useful, or the recoil from Wood Hammer could be very useful to allow you to get into the Overgrow range a lot easier, which is something to keep in mind. But if you don't like recoil and don't mind having a weaker option, Seed Bomb is the way to go. Up next, we're going to be going with Brick Break as a way to be our fighting type stab, and then for the last two move slots, we're going to be going first with Stone Edge as a way to give you some much needed type coverage, also allowing you to hit the flying, fire, and ice type Pokemon that Chesnaught is weak to. And then lastly, we're either going to be going with Earthquake or Poison Jab in the last move slot. Earthquake is really nice because this set sort of struggles against poison types, so if you do predict your opponent to switch in on a poison, or switch a poison type in to take one of your moves, Earthquake is definitely a really nice surprise for them because obviously it's going to be doing some super effective damage. But Poison Jab, again, can be very useful against other grass types as well as the fairy types that might want to be able to switch in and take your fighting type moves that they predict you to go for. So it's really whichever one you want to go with. I personally think Earthquake is a more solid choice on the set, but it's whichever you want to choose. Next up, we have the first of two boosting sets that I have for Chestnaught for you today. The first of which is going to be a bulk up set. So we're going to start with a Careful Nature to increase our special defense and lower our special attack, and for the ability, we're going to be going with Bulletproof. As the EVs, we're going to go with a similar EV spread as before, with 200 EVs into our HP, 252 EVs into our special defense, and 56 EVs into our speed. And for the item, we're going to be going with Leftovers. As for the moves, since this is a bulk up set, the first move that we're going to go with is going to be Bulk Up as a way to increase our physical attack and our physical defense by one stage, which works extremely well with the EV spread, which is used to maximize our special defense. So as we're bulking up, we're going to be a very difficult Pokemon to take down from both the physical or special side. But for the moves on the set other than Bulk Up, we're going to be going with Brick Break to be our main fighting type stab, and Seed Bomb to be our main grass type stab. And for the last move slot, there are a few options you can go with. The first being Earthquake as a way to give you some more type coverage because Brick Break and Seed Bomb is walled by poison types, so Earthquake is definitely an option to deal with those. Stone Edge could also be useful for previous reasons mentioned before, such as the types of Pokemon like Fire, Flying, and Ice that will hit you super effectively, so you can take those out very easily with Stone Edge. You could also go with Rock Slide on the set, since it's not as important to be as offensive since we are boosting, so we can go with a less powerful move, but a more accurate move in Rock Slide, which is very useful. And then Synthesis is useful on this set as well, because if you want to just be recovering health as you're bulking up, that could be very useful. And then lastly, you could go with Substitute as a way to get behind a protective barrier and bulk up behind. So all of these are very viable options for Chestnaught in its last move slot, whether you want more type coverage, recovery, or a safer way to set up. And lastly, I have a more offensively based boosting set for Chestnaught, which actually has two possible combinations of natures and EVs. So I'll get to the second one in a second, but what the one you are looking at right now starts off by giving Chestnaught an Adamant Nature to increase its physical attack but lower its special attack. And for the ability, we can either go with either of them, yet again. Overgrow obviously being useful for allowing you to do more damage with your grass type moves when you're at a lower range of health, 33% of your health or less. And then the Bulletproof ability can also be used to give you some nice immunities and also give you more opportunities to set up with Chestnaught if you are able to bring in Chestnaught on a move it is immune to. But for the EVs on the set, we're going to start by giving it 200 EVs into its HP, 252 EVs into its physical attack to max that out, and then the remainder 56 EVs into our speed to allow us to outspeed base 70 speed Pokemon. And this EV spread gives you kind of a tanky attacking EV spread, which is very useful for allowing this Pokemon to take a hit and also dish out some really heavy damage. And for the item on the set, we're going to be going with Leftovers as a way to recover a little bit of HP at the end of every turn. But for the moves, we're actually faced with two possible options to boost our attack stats with Chestnaught on the set. The first one being Swords Dance as a way to boost your physical attack by 2 stages every time you go with it. But if you do want to go with a more defensive option, you could also go with Bulk Up as a way to boost your physical attack by only 1 stage, so it's less of an offensive option, but it also does boost your physical defense by 1 stage when you do go for Bulk Up. So it's whichever one you want to go with, but Swords Dance is the more offensive option, whereas Bulk Up is the more defensive option. But for the moves on the set, again, we're either going to be wanting to go with Wood Hammer or Seed Bomb as our main grass type stab. Wood Hammer, again, being very useful because of if we do go with the Overgrow ability, Wood Hammer will help us get into Overgrow range, even though we are using Leftovers with that. But Leftovers could also be used to allow you to recover some health lost by the Wood Hammer recoil. So it's whichever option you want to go with. Seed Bomb, obviously the weaker but less risky option because you don't lose health when you go with it. And then Brick Break, obviously, as your secondary fighting type stab move to do some very good damage with that move. And then for the last move slot, we're either going to be going with Earthquake for the reasons stated before, as the dual stab that Chestnaught has is very weak to poison type Pokemon that can come in and take both those types of moves very easily. So Earthquake is there to allow you to hit those Pokemon super effectively. Stone Edge obviously also useful for more type coverage against Pokemon that you are going to be weak to, such as the Flying, Fire, and Ice types, as I've mentioned before. And lastly, Synthesis can be used as an option on this set to allow you to regain health as you are setting up, and also to work extremely well in combination with Wood Hammer if you do go with the Bulletproof ability, obviously, because it'll allow you to recover a lot of the health lost by Wood Hammer recoil. Though, if you do go with Synthesis, keep in mind that you do lose quite a bit of type coverage because you are only going with your stab type moves, meaning that the set will be effectively walled by a lot of poison types, especially Crobat, which is 4 times resisting both of your moves. Just keep that in mind, though. But as I said, there are 2 possible combinations of natures and EV spreads for the set. So I'm going to show you the second one right now. Same moves and everything like that. But the nature that we're going to go with on the second spread is a Jolly nature, and the EV spread is going to be 252 EVs into our physical attack, 4 into our special defense, and then 252 EVs into our speed. So this is more of a complete offensive boosting set, whereas the other one is a more tanky offensive boosting set. But anyways, everybody, that is it for the first video, my first Pokemon X and Y analysis. So thank you all for watching. My Chestnaught analysis, obviously. If you would like to follow me in other places, you can check out my Twitch channel. You can follow me on Twitter. You could also bookmark my database, which will have this set as well as every other set I'm going to be doing in this analysis series very easily there for you with some explanation, some written explanation. And it also, the sets are copy and pastable into Pokemon Showdown if you do use that. So that is a really good resource for you all to see all these sets and copy and paste them and use them very easily. So make sure to bookmark that, and yeah, thank you all for watching, everybody. So as always, take care, goodbye, and I will see you all next time.